Welcome back to the CrazyDRanch and Rabbitry. I'm Dave, and today we are continuing our microgreen journey. If you're not sure what I'm talking about, we did a video a few days ago talking about how we are going to try out this microgreen thing, the new big thing where they claim that you can make six-figure income within a couple of years. Not sure if that's going to be the case. I'm hoping that we can, make a little bit of money off of it. We did a video putting the shelf together to put the microgreens on and grow them on. And the last video, I actually planted the seeds and have them in trays. They are a couple of days away from sometime in the next 24 to 48 hours. We will be unstacking those and removing the blackout dome, which in my case happens to be just the trays. However, anyway, when that happens, we need to have some lights set up on our shelf so that these guys will know how to grow. So that's our next step. I actually finally received our grow lights. I will put a link to these in the description or in our Amazon store, which the link to the Amazon store is definitely down below in the description. But that's what we're doing today, is we're going to be putting the lights on. So stick around. This should be fun. Alright, so to start with, let's get this thing opened up. See what we got here. Okay, so it looks like, hey, it came with zip ties. I was just thinking I needed to get some zip ties, but looks like it's got several so that we can control our wires a little bit. Okay, so we've got the box open. And it came with zip ties, so I'm separating all those out. We've got your power cables. Looks like this must plug into a transformer. Has the little flip off and on buttons. It's kind of tangled up mess at the moment, but I think we can sort this out. Okay. So these must be our jumper cables that will go between or plug into the power source. Nope. We'll figure it out. This third. Okay, I got you. So I believe you can string all these together with these cables. These will plug into the lights. And then you've got this that will plug into the lights if you want to plug them directly in. What I'm thinking we'll do is for each shelf there'll be 3 lights, and I'll string those 3 lights together, and then so each shelf will be separate, so I have a little bit more granular control over how the lights are turned on and off. And not positive what all we need this for. Quite possibly won't need most of it at all, because we're going to be attaching it to the rack. And even more of some sort of attachment here. I guess we'll figure that out once we get further in. Okay, and here are our light fixtures. So I'm going to get all this separated out, and we'll go from there. Okay guys, I want to tell you a little secret. You owe Laura, my wife, a huge thank you. As you know, on this channel, I usually fly by the seat of my pants, toss the instructions aside, and it usually works out okay. She suggested that I go ahead and do one of the shelves first before I show you how to do it. It looks great. It's working awesome. I'll show you in just a couple of minutes. In fact, it won't take long to put the other set on. What I'm doing is I am doing 3 lights per shelf. That will be these lights right here. First thing you need to know, they do come with a thin piece of cellophane on them, and it comes off pretty easily. You just kind of got to get it started, and then it peels right through here. Gently pull it out. Peels all the way other end. And of course that's on there just to keep your bulb from getting scratched. The bulb getting scratched will not affect the lights themselves, but having an optician background, I do know that a scratched piece of plastic or glass will cause the reflection of your light to not behave the way that you want it to. So that was really great that they put that on there, but you'll want to take it off before you hang the bulbs up, because it will affect the way the light's reflecting on your bulb, on your plants. 2, they do come with these reflectors, and I will go ahead and show you how to install them. On one side there is more of a lip, on the other side it's more smooth. On each side of this bulb there's a groove, and some of them are a little difficult to get going. You just kind of gotta keep working with it, get it lined up. As you can see, and then to get it started, you got to kind of jar it around a little bit, and then it just slides right on. Doesn't matter which end, because it will go both directions, although this one is catching up here. I was going to do that. You've got reflectors that go on both sides. I was going to use that because I felt like that would really focus the lights in on the plants. In order to use that, they sent a dozen of these little clips. It easily snaps on, and you'll know when you got it snapped on because there, there's 2 little snaps. And then hang Velcro. You can hang it with these strips. They actually give you lots of options, but you just put the zip ties through, attach to your shelf. All is good. So, reflectors, use those. I think there's another option if you're hanging it to your ceiling. Yeah, here we go. No. I believe it's these clips right here you would use if you were going to hang it to your ceiling. But I discovered that using these clips, this tab was sticking through my shelf. And I don't want that sticking up through my shelf because it's going to cause problems with my trays. So that's the only way to use the reflectors, is if you use those clips. I mean, you could use them, but you can't if you're Velcro or zip tying it like I am. It's going to cause issues. So what I did discover, and I'll show you that. Number 1, we're just going to do these bulbs by themselves, no reflectors. And like I said, you need to thank my wife for that. And if you wish to thank her, on CrazyDavesCrew, she does Thursday Threads, where she sews quilt blocks, and several other craft type things. So pop over there, subscribe to that channel, give her a big thumbs up, you know. that would be one of the best ways you could thank her. Alright, so let's get to installing these bulbs, shall we? Okay, so as you can see, I've already got one of these installed. I went through and velcroed the cords up. I didn't have to velcro the bulbs, but I'll show you in a minute. I chose to. Why? But as you can see, it is working awesome. I'm going to go ahead and shut these off though, so that you're not blind all the way through this video. Wow, that made a huge difference in the lights. So that's 3 bulbs on one shelf. Now, what you need to determine at this point is where you want your plugs at. Now, I want all of my plugs on the same location, and this side is actually going to be next to a shelf, which will make it a little more difficult to operate them. So I'm putting my plugs on this other side. Now, my shelf has all of these little grooves. This guy right here, you can see it's got three prongs on it. That plugs into your bulb. I've gone through and counted each of my shelves so that I can get the middle bulb perfectly centered. The outside 2 bulbs, I want them as close to the front of the shelf as I can get. Now, since this is a 4-foot shelf and these are 4-foot bulbs, they don't come past the pole. So that was something I discovered that I wasn't necessarily happy about, but it's okay. It'll work. Now, just stick these through this part of the shelf. Can you see that? Yeah, stick these through this part of the shelf. Go ahead and do that before you get your bulbs over here, because it is a tight fit. So I go ahead and pull it through so I've got control of it. And then we have these jumper cables. Basically, you can hook up each bulb. I'm hooking up 3 bulbs to one switch. Perfectly okay to do that. Supplied these for that purpose. And if you do 2, this came set up so that you can do 2 bulbs per shelf instead of 3. I may end up doing that. At this moment, I'm going with 3 bulbs. I want to make sure I get the most light I possibly can. We may find that that's unnecessary. So, jumpers. What you're going to want to do, find your center point and take this guy and shove it through that hole. So, in my case, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There's 8 going each direction. I'm going to stick it right through there. And then I'm going to take the other end of that same cable and I'm going to stick it through the furthest point, because that's how that one's, it'll plug in here, it'll go down to this end, there'll be a jumper coming back down the middle one, connect here, and then a jumper to connect the one on the far side. Coming back to this other end, which by the way, I love the fact that this is on wheels. I told you that I would love it, and I do, because I can move it around, do what I need to do, then push it back out of the way. So, this next one, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 needs to go in right there. And then it'll be jumping off of this one, so it goes in right here. So I've got those in. Next we're going to grab our bulbs, go ahead and line this up, and what you'll find is you have to pull these all the way back, because it is a perfect fit. You just plug that in right there. Your light's actually going to rest on that. Same thing at this end. Grab the power cable, push it all the way back through, and then get my pole, my light lined up correctly. Now on these shelves, this is kind of a tight fit. Hard. Which way does it go? Okay. So it's kind of tricky getting this plugged in on the second end. And maybe I should do that one first. I think that's what we need to do. Okay, so I actually decided to plug in that in first because it was a little bit bigger plug and harder to work with. And then just slide the jumper in at this end. And as you can see, my light, it's not going anywhere. Now I'm going to go ahead and put some zip ties on here just to give it that extra little bit of support so it's not got all of its pressure on the plug itself. But it's really not necessary. It'll work without that. And same thing on this one. Get it in place, pull this back through, plug it in, as you can see that nub is sticking out. That's going to hold it in place. And I'm doing the same thing down at this end. I'm going to pull it most of the way back through, and then you just kind of have to jimmy it around until you can get that in there. And light number 3. As you can see, this goes very quickly once you know what you're doing, which there's always a question of whether I know what I'm doing. But I think I've got this. Stick that back through the shelf. Now, this last one, there's probably no real danger, but better safe than sorry. I would much rather err on the side of caution. In that little package of stuff, it came with this little cap that will slide right in here at the end, just to kind of cover that hole up. And there's, if you ever want to take that back out, there's a little place where you can stick a screwdriver or knife in and pop it loose. So, like I said, this end won't stay up on its own. So get this one located exactly where I want it. Bring this one up, and then just take a zip tie This is probably the hardest part, is getting the zip ties in the right location and turn the right direction. While I'm talking to you, it's trying to slide out of the other end, so that's fun, huh? But I don't know if you could see that, but I just put a zip tie on there right around the bulb. You're not actually touching the LED lights, you're touching the cover of the LED lights. And of course, LED lights don't get that hot. This has been on for a while. I can see, you know, it's got some warmth, but it's not hot. The rest of these would hold themselves up, but I'm going to go through and I'll put a zip tie at each end just for safety purposes. Now, you got this extra cord laying out here. I don't like it, so I'm pulling it out pretty straight, and we're going to fold it over, and fold it over, and fold it over, You know, this is a preference thing. I don't want cables hanging down everywhere. So I'm going to get a zip tie, zip that right there. It'll look great, just like I did this one up here. Same thing at the other end. And I'll bring my power cables up toward the top. They've got these nifty little on-off switches. Ta-da, ta-da. That's pretty much it. I'll give you a quick walkthrough after I get everything tied up. See you in just a minute. Okay, so here is our operation. As you can see, we've got seeds that are getting ready to be uncovered. In fact, we've got some that are actually raising the trays. You can see the difference in the height of the trays. Exactly the same amount of trays, all the same. So, walk through here. I zip tied right here at the end of this bulb. Did that on all three of them. Didn't do anything else the rest of the way down. Zip tied it this end on all three of them again. As you can see, the plug going through here, plug here, plug here, and those for the most part are holding it up. That last bulb did require a zip tie down at the very end. I'm hoping you're being able to see that. It's kind of dark over in that spot, but that's all there was to it. I did cable cleanup a little bit here by zip tying those on each shelf. So that's kind of out of the way, not causing any problems. In fact, looking back, I probably should have looped it underneath, which I may still do that. But that's it. Now, what I want to do is probably put my power cable up here, so these cables will run up this way. These cables will run up here, so they're up out of the way, but I don't have a power strip in place yet, so they're just hanging down. But are you ready? Let's see how it looks. Okay, so be prepared. It's about to get bright in here, and as you can see, I'm controlling each set of lights individually. There you have it. My lights are now ready for when the trays are ready for the light. So this is day 3. Well, not really day 3, but it's the 3rd episode of our Microgreens Adventure or experiment, however you want to describe it. We will be continuing this series on with several other things, but right now I need to head out and take care of our rabbits. Which, by the way, if you like rabbits, be sure that you check out the Rabbitry videos that we've got. There are plenty of them, and will be more coming soon. Be sure that you subscribe so that you don't miss any of these videos. I realize that I'm out of practice and they're pretty awful, but I do appreciate you watching, and once I get all of this figured out, I may go back and redo some of these videos just so you can have a more polished explanation of what we're doing here. But subscribe, click that big thumbs up button for me, please. Make comments. I am trying to get to everyone's comments. It just takes time. We've got a lot going on. We've got the chickens, we've got the rabbits, now we've got the microgreens, we've got cats all over the place, we've got the garden, and I still have a full-time job, y'all. So check out my wife's channel, CrazyDavesCrew, where she does a lot of sewing. Hop over there. There's a link in the description below. Appreciate you watching, and y'all have a great rest of the day. Bye.